Hey everybody, welcome back to No Place Like Home, a North and South podcast. On this podcast, we celebrate the magic and power of homemaking. I'm Megan. This is Mike.
Hello.
Together we have a big family, 9 kids. We've been married for almost 26 years. And we homeschool and we do pretty much everything together, including this podcast.
This is true.
If you guys watched our last vlog, because if you're listening to this on whatever podcast app you're listening to, we also have a YouTube channel, and you can watch this podcast on YouTube.
If you want to see our happy, smiling faces.
Yes. I'll describe myself to you right now. I'm very, very beautiful.
This is true.
Very,
actually.
yeah. Long, anyways, dumb. But in our last vlog, we actually went up to Virginia and looked at an 1890 farmhouse.
Right.
And I
actually, is that the actual date? It's not 1890s. It's like
no,
an
it's
actual
1890.
Okay.
And I was
It is
like,
the day.
probably shouldn't call it a farmhouse, even though it is a farmhouse style. But then I realized in 1890, that was a farmhouse.
Yeah,
there was
probably
nothing
was.
else there.
You're right.
So it probably had a lot of property around it. It doesn't anymore. I've been looking at it for like ever, 5 months. And we finally went up. And in the last vlog, we took you guys along and gave you a tour, pointed out what I'd already kind of like come up with in my mind that I would do in each room of the house. And then at the end said, we had to kind of think about it. But then we went out to dinner with the fam.
Got some good tacos.
And like before we had even ordered, I turned to you and I said, I don't want that house. And you said, me neither.
Yep.
And then we smooched.
Because we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Yay.
And
For once.
I am up for a challenge. I love thrifting. I actually am very bored by new, easy things. Even though the very new, easy houses are comfortable, I'm very, like, I find them draining because they're just not interesting to me at all.
That's true.
I don't identify with, those things. But so I think we're both up for a fixer-upper.
Yeah, totally.
And actually we didn't share this in the video. We got the inspection report before we even went and saw the house.
Yeah, we did. We were kind of aware of the bigger
Everything
issues.
that at least the inspector had found.
Yeah, and there's actually more stuff that we didn't show on the tour there. But anyways.
So we were aware. We went to look at it, and we've bought a few houses now, and every time we find a house that we end up buying, there's like a feeling when you walk in that you just like know it's your house.
Yeah.
You're like, this is it, Some of our houses, it was like we just saw the house as we were like driving up to them. We're like, oh, that's our house. That's the house, This one was very sweet, and it was better looking than I thought it would look.
Yeah.
It in some ways.
Yeah, in some ways worse than others.
Yeah, the layout was great. The layout would have totally worked. I kind of had a prayer in my heart as I was walking around, but I just didn't feel anything for it. It was it's like somebody else's house,
Well, and honestly, all the issues that have to be addressed immediately sort of put a damper on it.
Yeah,
Let's
well,
be
and I was very
honest about
grateful
that.
it wasn't our house. Because if you had that feeling and you had that list,
Yeah.
you'd be like, I don't want it to be my house.
Yeah, I mean, we did buy a fixer-upper, within
We've
the
had
last
a couple of houses that needed
5 or
fixing
6
up.
years. But nothing to the extent
No.
that needs help, like
No.
structurally and like the roof. There's water intrusion. There's lots of stuff going on there. So, and pests. So,
No,
yeah.
it was a lot of things.
Anyways.
Our friends that were with us in the video actually bought an 1890s farmhouse that's still on land, not 10 minutes from there.
Right.
It had a lot of problems.
Uh-huh.
Still has some of those problems, but they've made it so beautiful and charming, and like we love going over there, and we've stayed overnight there, and I know it can happen, but this one might be worse.
It is worse.
Yeah, it's worse.
I believe it's worse. So
Yeah.
we will keep on looking.
Yeah, we'll keep looking, and we'll take you guys along.
Go on some other tours. It's kind of fun.
It is fun. I love looking at houses. Yeah. So, especially when, they actually want you to be there and not just like looking through people's windows when I'm out for a walk in the evening.
Not like usual when you're lurking
I don't
in the
walk
backyard.
up to the windows, but if they leave their front windows open, it's the evening and I can see it from the street. That
on
sounds
them.
really creepy, but
Hey, it's
when
a
you're
great way to see
driving in the
someone's house.
evening and you're going through these historic districts and all the lights are on inside and like you can see into these just beautiful houses. And I absolutely know that sometimes they're like, I have a beautiful historic home. I'm not going to close all the curtains and blinds so you can't see how glorious
yeah.
it is.
They want you to see
They're
it.
like,
So
I spent a pretty penny on this.
they're
so.
inviting you to look in.
Yeah. I hate it when you're in a neighborhood and like every house looks like no one lives there because all the lights are off.
It's the worst.
So, anyways, it was fun. It was good times.
Good time.
More to come.
Go to the YouTube channel if you want to watch that.
Yeah. Today's podcast is brought to you by ourselves because we're not sponsored.
We don't have any sponsors. What are you talking about?
No. Actually, I got a great question in the comments a couple of videos ago. There were some other comments that we're going to address, but this one came from putting on my readers.
Yep.
From Marju Tracks 1038, just a few days ago, actually. She said, "Hey, I have a question for you guys. So I'm also a parent of many, 5 children. I also homeschool them, and I am just enough years behind from you guys to find your family life very inspiring." Well, thank you. My eldest is 8, and we stay as far from digital devices for kids as we can. So my question is, how to safely ease children into the digital world? This will come one day, and I would really appreciate your guys' perspective on this. Well, Marju, Tracks 1038.
You said that right.
Yeah. Thank you, Marju. That, I don't know why I'm assuming your name's Marju. And you're like, that's not my name at all. Marju Tracks.
Just the YouTube handle.
That was a great question. And so we'll spend a few minutes here answering your question about, screens and the digital world in general. But also we've had a few comments on AI.
Yeah, comments and questions.
And so we'll kind of start here and get into that.
Mm-hmm.
But when our oldest, Elijah, was 8, we also tried to stay away from the digital world. Now, that was a lot easier then. For us, we didn't have iPads. Those were still very expensive at that time.
Yeah, we couldn't afford
Only
that.
The fanciest of people, if they even had iPads then.
No, they'd come out by then.
Yeah, we had one computer, and it was like a tower computer, I think. Oh, it was an iMac.
Yeah, it couldn't
with
go
the
anywhere.
Big half-dome base or whatever.
Right, it just sat there in the family room, essentially.
Yeah, and then we didn't have high-speed internet. We had, like, in quotes, high-speed internet.
Yeah. This is in the country of Washington State. There was no such thing as high-speed internet.
Yeah, we lived up in Meade, Washington. And so, like, if you wanted to watch, like, a movie on, like on Netflix back in the day, it would, like, you guys remember the red screen? I remember the red screen.
The red screen of death.
Yeah, where it's, like, loading.
You're sitting there just waiting.
Yeah, and you're, like, watch, like, 10 seconds, and it goes back. And everybody just, like, sits there quietly. Then it goes, but then you're like, put it on pause. We'll leave it for a while.
Yeah, I know. You'd let it load.
We didn't spend much time on screens back then. Uh-huh. We had a little bit of property. We had animals.
Yeah, it was kind of nice.
We had chickens and pigs and goats and llamas. And that was before YouTube, though. So we only had a blog before the vlog.
Totally.
But I understand the overwhelming nature of screens these days and the battle against it.
Mm-hmm.
And so
now we obviously have to deal with it.
Yeah, and we've come up with a lot of rules. Much of it is through trial and error.
Yeah.
We talked about on our last podcast about the allegory of parenting as a gardener and how the first few seasons are the hardest because you're constantly learning what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so when it came to screens, we got wiser and wiser through kind of realizing where all the holes in our fencing was, which we realized actually literally in Spokane, all the holes in our fencing.
Oh, right.
Because we had so many holes in our fencing and the pigs would always find
Animals escaping all the time.
The llamas. One time our neighbor called and he said, "I'm having a party and your llamas are here in my yard." So we were up the hill, so we could actually see his party down. He had real pretty pasture area.
You should be grateful. That's a good party, I don't know, feature. Yeah. Is a llama being there.
We had to go get those llamas. We didn't actually own the llamas. That's the funniest part. We just had all this fenced pasture, and a friend of ours was like, "Hey, do you want some llamas? They'll protect your chickens from coyotes," which was a lie.
Well, maybe just those llamas were wimps or something.
They didn't care at all. I looked out. I have a distinct memory of looking out the window one day and seeing a coyote running through our top pasture towards the chicken coop. And the llama's just sitting there chewing the cud like, "Hey, what's up?" They didn't care at all. They didn't stop those coyotes at all.
That llama knew that didn't actually belong to us.
Yeah, he's like, "I don't know these people."
I just kind of live here.
Yeah, so anyways, we had to go get our friends' llamas out of our neighbor's party. Felt really cool. It's
we were super cool.
Yeah, it's a very cool moment. You're like, "No worries, let me get these flipping ugly llamas."
Well, then you try to get them
to
run away from you, and you chase them around with all the people watching.
You don't really have the equipment. They're not your llamas. They're just in your pasture.
They don't respect you.
So it was fun.
Anyways,
Um,
back to screens.
yeah, I have no idea what I was talking about.
We're talking about setting boundaries for screens.
Oh,
So,
okay. So fences, holes in fences. And so as screens became more prevalent, you're excited to have iPads, excited to have Kindles, excited to have more computers. We had
Yeah.
like
the little Chromebooks.
the Chromebooks that were so cheap, and learned very quickly the unending infiltration to our family through screens.
Yeah.
Both from the outside world, but also just like in setting healthy boundaries and usage and, the battles that ensued.
Yeah.
I think we can also relate back to the idea of the Three Little Pigs again. Because
This has become our favorite metaphor.
I know, it's funny. Before our first podcast where we mentioned it, I just like thought of it like right before we started recording. But I think about Three Little Pigs all the time now. Speaking of which, we had an iPad when we went to China to adopt Jude, Eve, and Daniel.
Yes.
And Jude, because we were like in country and you spend hours and hours waiting for paperwork to get done. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And so we brought that iPad, but Jude had never interacted with like TV, I guess. I don't know. He was 2 years old, and we turned on like a video of like dump trucks. Do you remember this?
And he was
like started shaking. He was so scared.
He didn't know what to do.
Like, what is happening in front of me on this thing, So, but he loved watching the old vintage Three Little Pigs cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Anyways, full circle.
Here we are.
So you build this brick house, and in the old days, maybe the bad guys, the big bad wolf, has to like literally crawl through your window or come through your front door. But these days, it comes through your devices.
Yeah. Well,
it's
more like bugs and roaches coming in now. They find the little cracks. So we have gotten fairly strict with our screen usage in the family.
Yeah.
I think this all boils down to.
Yeah. We aren't anti-screen usage. We find that they're an amazing tool for our homeschooling and learning, but we are very controlled. And so we actually chose to not, once the Chromebooks died, not to replace them.
No.
Because we found that having many screens made it really difficult for us to oversee their usage. Because
they're all spread out.
Yeah, you're like, where is that other
What happened to
computer?
that other one? Yeah, disappeared.
And maybe we're answering. We'll start here. We'll start with what our rules are, then we'll kind of walk back from that. But, So we only have 2 computers now. We have 2 laptops, which is a lot, but we have a big family. And very strict rules about their usage. They always have to be used in public spaces, and there has to be at least 2 people in the room. You can't even be looking at them like in a corner with the screen facing like the corner. You need to be using it where we can all see what you're looking at on the screen.
Yep.
Then with phones, why don't you tell what we do with phones?
Yeah, so...
This wasn't always the case. We've literally...
worked our way to this.
Yes, we have worked our way to this.
So first thing, our kids do have phones, at least from Jude on up. And
that's everybody. There's nobody
There's no one younger.
Not yet, at least.
At this point now. Jude, when he turned 12. First off, the phones don't have any social media on them for anyone that's below 18. And all of our boys that have phones have the Gab phone. If you're familiar with that, that is a phone where you have a lot more parental controls, because we found that the iPhones, they have this screen time thing where you can, supposedly set some limits, and you can, but there's still ways around that. And so
lots of ways, yeah.
We decided that we're just done with the iPhones, is for the kids at least. And so we have the Gab phones, and really you can even put more apps on the Gab, but we haven't done that. So it's their basic apps, and all they can do is call, text, and check the weather.
Photos.
And take some pictures.
Yeah.
So it's very, very limited what they can do on that.
Well, and I'll tell you that we only learned that the iPhone is impossible to lock down by our kids telling us.
Yeah.
By saying, because we're working together with our kids, right?
Yeah.
They have goals to stay away from stuff on the internet as well. And having them say, I could still get to stuff on here, just
Right.
FYI. I mean, that's been how it's been for many years. Them coming and telling us like, hey, this app that you let me have, you probably shouldn't let me because I did see some stuff on there or whatever.
Yeah.
Or it's there. I can see that it's there. And we're like, okay, thank you for letting me know. And I have learned by experience that every app, I mean, pretty much without exception, has pornography on it.
or wait to get to something like it.
Yeah, something pornography
So,
adjacent.
gotta be careful.
Kindles, we used to have the Kindle readers. Those are full of pornography. I'm using this word openly, so sorry if it's kind of heavy.
Yeah.
But that's the literal world we live in.
Right.
You have to
It's
be very
everywhere.
aware and open about it. We do in our family.
So we don't do Kindle readers either.
Yeah, we don't do Kindle readers because they have tons and tons and tons of adult content on them, and
If they want to read a book, it's got to be a paper.
Yep, we read paper books.
We do let them use the computers for YouTube for educational purposes. There's lots of good stuff on there, but like Megan said, we have rules about where you got to be and that we can all kind of know what's going on as far as that goes.
And then we have a TV in the
Right,
family
and they can
room,
use that.
and it has YouTube on it. So we are very careful because some people would say that you don't trust your kids, and it's no, I don't trust the outside world.
Right.
That are literally, I feel like sometimes they're just, it's so obvious they're trying to get to my kids. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the difference between a woman's Instagram search bar and a man's.
Yeah.
Like, because Instagram knows if you're male or female, and they want you to stay on their platform. On a woman's, it's like beauty stuff and like home stuff, and on a man's, it's women. A
lot of times, yeah.
Yeah, and so I've known people who actually switch their account, like so that
They say they're female.
they say they're a female, yeah,
Yeah.
or a business that helps as well.
Yeah. Well, and so like we said, none of the kids have social media accounts.
Any kids under 18.
Not only is it not on the phone, they just don't have accounts at all. So they can't even go on the computer to any social media site. So they stay out of that.
Yeah. And that works
great.
for us. And I do know that the pressures that exist if your kids are going to school are very different when it comes to social media. We don't have that. I know that I've heard friends say their kids are like, that's the only way people talk, or that's how we communicate for student stuff is through
yeah.
these apps. And thankfully, that's a non-issue for us.
Right.
I will also tell you that when you homeschool, another non-issue for you is that I can control which screens you're seeing. We were recently at a zoo here in North Carolina. It's a great zoo. It's the largest natural habitat zoo in the world. Wow. And it was a beautiful day. We happened to show up on a school field trip day.
Yeah,
We're always like, no, what's the point of homeschooling? Anyways, be with the crowds. But there's tons of what look like fourth graders there, young kids.
Yeah, they were young.
Not, and I saw multiple times, one time in particular that really stood out to me. Because they're just running throughout the park. They're not like with their teachers
Didn't
most of the
seem
time.
super organized,
Yeah, there
but
weren't like a
I
ton of
don't
teachers around, which is fine. It's happy. I absolutely like field trips were like the saddest thing to get over when I decided to homeschool my kids, because those are like the happiest days of the year. We go on way more field trips than we ever did in
true.
school. But I saw a group of 9-year-old boys, and there was probably 5 of them, and one of them had a phone, and they were all looking at it together excitedly. I don't know what they were looking at. It doesn't actually matter what they were looking at. The point was none of their moms know at all what they're looking at. And even if the other 4 boys don't own a phone, the one that
Sent to
does,
school without it.
yes, the one that does shows it to all of the others.
Yeah.
And so I know how much more difficult it would be to be able to protect your kids from the people that are coming from them if they're in public school.
Yeah.
So
that's, and that's sort of a little bit of I don't want to say disclaimer, but everything we're going to talk about today is much easier if you do not send your children to public school.
Yeah.
We'll just kind of leave it there, because
Yeah.
it's a constant uphill battle if your kids are at school. When you're trying to establish something at home and then they go off for 8 hours somewhere else and come back, and it's been, who knows what's been going on there.
Yeah. And you guys,
So-
I think that Mike and I have talked about this idea before, that sometimes I think there's a privilege that exists where everybody that you've interacted with for most of your life is a really good person and you haven't been hurt, you haven't been abused, and that is such an amazing privilege to have. But I think that can also create a false idea that everybody in the world is good mostly, and that they all have good intentions. And they wouldn't do that terrible thing, One of the things that I am certain of, I don't even doubt, is that all of these platforms know what will keep your children on the platform and make them good consumers. They're very aware of it. They'll pretend when they go and sit before, you know, some Senate hearing that they're not doing that, but they are doing that. And they've studied what does it. They've studied what keeps their eyes on the screen. And this is not just, you know, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all of those things. It's also Pinterest and a million other things. They all want to know how to keep you where they make money.
Yeah.
And so they will look the other way at best when it comes to adult content, because they know that it is very highly, highly addictive for all human brains, but especially for younger brains. And so I think it's hard sometimes to think they wouldn't be that terrible. It's like, yes, they will. Because as soon as you try to make it so that they can't do that to your kids, you'll realize how there's literally like a million different ways they're trying to do that to your kids on every platform. Audible, music platforms, Amazon, it's everywhere, and they don't care. And if at best they don't care, and at worst they do care, and they're actually actively seeking your kids out. And it's really sad. It is sad. But the thing is, you can build that brick house and you can say, oh, I didn't realize it was coming in this way. And you fill in the hole and you do a better job next time. It's not the end of the world. When, you know, maybe somebody in your family interacts with it, it's a time to learn a lesson and to get better and to have lots of discussions about those things.
And they do need to learn how to manage it, how to deal with it.
So we kind of came in hot, though. I feel bad now because she was asking, how do I teach my kids to interact with the digital world? I think that, first of all, I guess you have to be incredibly cautious in who you let into your home, including over the internet. We also learned how easily our children were influenced by influencers.
This is true. Yeah. You do have to be careful who they're listening to.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's not, this isn't like dirty content. This is just
worldviews.
Yeah.
I remember once one of our kids coming into us, and they had been watching a lot of these history, you know, videos, which we were pretty happy about. But I was like, you know, sometimes I was like, I don't know. But he was like, you know how like when it comes down to it, most rich people are evil. And I was like, wait, what? I'm like, most rich people are evil? What do you mean? He's like, well, I think if you looked between poor people and rich people, you would find more evil people that were rich. And I was like, well, let alone, we're going to talk about that idea, but like, where did you get that idea?
Right. Where's this coming from?
Yeah, like this is not, you didn't just make this up. You're very certain, but you're also not old enough. You haven't read, you're not reading some text or, you know, studying some topic. Somebody gave you that idea. And I think we don't maybe do that enough with our kids, you know, like, wait, where did you hear that? I'd like to know.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we've talked about this before. Sometimes parents are trying so hard. They have this, like, think of their child's brain like a swimming pool. And it's like, just like black with just like filth. And they're doing everything they can to clean that water and to like get all the filth out, but they never stop the flow into the pool from, you know, wherever it's coming. That's the first thing you have to do to protect your kids is where is this coming from?
Yeah.
It's outside of them. Where is it coming from? And
yeah, this comes when you see a change of behavior, right?
Change of behavior or ideas, new ideas, new worldviews that like you don't hold. Mm-hmm. Like as soon as you say like, that's not a belief that I hold. Now this is so impossible if you're sending them to school, right? Or away. If you think about it, like if you're trying to treat your family like a garden that you're growing, well, you have to, if you're sending them to public school, you have to essentially take your plant and go plant it in the midst of someone else's garden and say like, be good to them. I hope that you nourish them. And then, you know, in the evenings you could come in, but all day long you have very little input on what's happening there. And if there are weeds all around it, you can't pull those weeds because it's not your garden, and you can't, you know, you're like, I think they should have more of these nutrients. They're like, well, we have this curriculum. And so you know, or you can say like, I actually think that's poisoning them. My plant's suffering. And they're like, well, sorry, that's our program. We don't have the funding for whatever it is. And so that is it's not an impossible task, but it's a very difficult task to protect them and nourish them and do all of the things that are super important. So for us, it's just like, yeah, we're going to have to homeschool them.
Yeah.
Now another thing that's so interesting, Mike and I talk about this all the time, but I obviously do all the talking when we talk about it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
You're
a talker.
so good at it.
We talk all the time about the crazy propaganda that comes out through movies and stories that protective parents are evil.
Right. They're almost always the bad guys.
They're
in
the bad
stories.
guys. Like
Because it's like they're
hurting
essentially
their kids.
abusing their children by keeping them from the world, or keeping the world from them. Like they're neglecting them in that way or something like that.
Yeah, and one of the greatest things, I studied film at BYU, or movies at BYU, and one of the greatest things that came from that, it seems like a no-brainer now, but it wasn't when I was a teenager coming into college, is that everything in a movie is made up and decided on purpose. Like they would say, even the clock that's hanging on the wall, somebody decided what clock would hang on the wall in this scene.
Right.
Everything is there intentionally.
Yeah.
Nothing happens, just happens. And
Nothing's by accident.
yeah, and so you're like, well, in that story, those parents were bad. It's like, yeah, well, they wrote that story.
It's a fictional story,
They,
folks.
and if you guys will start to, I don't know if you haven't noticed this yet, but like every movie, the religious people are often horrible people,
Yes.
just horrible people.
Almost
But
always.
yes, and the parents who are trying to control their kids
In
are
air
like
quotes.
super messed up.
Yeah.
Like The Village with M. Night Shyamalan.
yeah.
I don't know if he actually meant to do that. It's such an easy story to tell, but like they're like, you know what? We don't want to be a part of this modern world. They were like a group of hippies or something.
Yeah.
And so then they go and move, away into their own, into the country, right? Or into the woods to start a better society. But then it gets really dark and horrible.
Yeah.
Like, and then the normal people are the ones who are really helping their kids are the ones who don't try to protect them.
Right.
That's
right.
essentially one of
Yeah.
the worldview of The Village. Another one we hated was that one with Viggo Mortensen.
Mr. Wonderful or Captain Amazing. It had something like
something
that.
like that. I don't remember, but he was a homeschooler. They were like extremists, of
Well,
course.
they lived like way out in like the
course.
middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and so they live up in the mountains. They're extremists, and they're like now like living in their bus.
They
and
have to go do something. I can't
yeah,
remember what.
and they have to come down because like the mom died.
Something like that.
Yeah, and the kids are really smart, but also very strange and
Right.
ill-prepared
But
for
yeah,
the world.
they can't handle like society.
Yeah, and it's like I don't think I've ever seen a movie where there's like a homeschooling family that like has amazing adventures and the kids are really happy and well-adjusted. Like, does that movie exist?
Probably not.
Yeah, and so everybody's like, I'd like to homeschool my kids, but I'm just worried about them being weird. That's
Yeah.
huge because those are the stories that get told all the time. Well, guys, that's propaganda. That's propaganda. They don't want you to homeschool your kids. They want you to feel bad about protecting your kids. And it's not just homeschooling. It's any parent. They make these women look crazy when they're trying to protect their kids from other women. And like they are crazy because they've set up the story
Well, they've
perfectly.
written it that way, yeah.
Yeah, where like she is extreme. So then you feel uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to be crazy if I don't let my kids do what everybody else is doing. And like somehow it's like better for your kids to like experience this is the idea. Well, I'm going to let them experience it now so they can learn how to deal with it. Because if I just protect them from it, they won't be prepared.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of silly. I think there's a grain of truth to that.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, guess what? I can do both.
Sure. Yeah.
I can both, like, let them be kids and not have to worry about all sorts of, like, stuff.
Bad stuff. Yeah.
Like, I mean, just like, there's, like, teachers that will tell kindergartners, like, who they're attracted to. It's like, I don't know if a 5-year-old, like, can't he just be learning about, like, blocks and, like,
numbers and the
like,
alphabet.
yeah, and
all
like
the good stuff.
rainy days versus sunny days and like summer and winter and like, can't they just be kids and not have to learn about those topics yet? And for me, the answer is yes. But I can also do that and at the appropriate time start teaching them about the world and but also not expect them to carry the weight of the world on their shoulders at a young age.
Right.
So all that to say, Marju Tracks 1038's question, how she has been doing a great job. And I think that there is a time to just say, we're not going to worry about that yet. Like, we're going to keep it out completely. But I also know that the internet and the digital world can be a huge blessing to
Right.
all families, but I think especially homeschooling families. There's a lot of really great programs and curriculums and just information. And so I think that you have to, like we said earlier, you have to know that there's a lot of danger on a lot of these things. And so to protect your kids, you're going to keep fences up. Remember, that's not to keep your kids in, it's to keep them out, the big bad wolf out. And we feel uncomfortable, like, oh, I'm fencing them in. It's like, no, we're fencing them out.
Yeah, right.
So that my kids can just be kids and they can be happy and not carry all of that. And so, like I said, we don't let computers or phones or screens of any kind for our under 18s in their bedrooms. It does switch when they become 18. And I mean, obviously, if they're paying for their own phone.
Sure.
But we do think by the time you're 18, you hopefully in our care have learned a lot of coping mechanisms and responsible use of screens. And we have seen that our kids have a desire to keep those fences up for themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
I think all of our adult children have their own fences to keep themselves.
Yeah, they're careful too.
Yeah, very careful, as are we, as their parents. So I think continuing to do that's a really good idea. I think using screens together is such a happy thing.
Yeah, that's true.
To access all of that great content. But we do have some games, and as we have mentioned before, the only time they get to use those is together on Friday and Saturday night for a few hours.
And they don't always do it either.
No, they don't. Friday night, they often do. That's like during date night. But Saturday night, they usually just want to watch a movie together as a family.
Yeah.
And we end up doing that a lot of the time because we do love movies. Getting harder and harder to find good ones.
That's true.
But I don't want to be a downer. I hope that my mood that comes across is not one of fear, but of seriousness on make sure you keep a place that's safe for your kids so that they can enjoy the great outdoors without big bad wolves coming into the garden. And so it's not a downer, but it is, you should never be under the illusion that the big bad wolf won't come in. You should also never be under the illusion that if you have just a great kid, that they won't get hurt. I think that's another thing I hear from a lot of parents is like, well, my kid's great. They're a smart kid.
Or they're smart, yeah.
They're a smart kid. They wouldn't. And it's like, don't put that burden on them. That's not nice.
Yeah, because they're still kids.
Yeah, they're kids. They don't have a fully developed brain. That's not nice because then you're saying if they do get sucked into something dark online or even inappropriate online, that they're not a good kid anymore.
Yeah, they failed somehow to be
Yeah, it's like, no, that was my job.
Yeah.
It's when a rabbit gets into your garden and nibbles on your cucumbers, you're not like, dang, cucumber.
Way to go.
You're like, oh man, that cucumber plant keeps attracting those dang rabbits. Like it always happens to you. You must have, the rabbits will come for your cucumbers. It's your job as the gardener or as the parent to keep those fences in place so that the cucumbers can just grow, right?
And be watchful of ways that different things can enter or different predators or whatever you want. Because they find new ways. That's the thing.
But it's not always easy to feel this way. But the ideal that you really should feel is that your kids are victims to the big bad wolf trying to get at them. Because they're just not ready for it. And so if there is an intrusion, it was a breakdown in the protective nature. And you say, oh, my bad, I didn't realize that was there, but let's talk about why, and let's protect you better.
And I think also part of this is asking them if they've seen things. And that does require an open dialogue and that they feel comfortable sharing with you.
We opened that dialogue like forever ago and it's never closed.
Yeah, you got to start it kind of early so that it's a normal thing.
But it does get a lot easier the more you mend the fences and extend the fences. And once again, our kids there's so much great content they're partaking of. We are not Luddites. That is a phrase, if you haven't heard Luddite, it was a movement in like the early 1800s in England of a guy named, I think, like Ned Ludd. I looked this up. I didn't naturally know this. I knew what a Luddite was.
Research this today.
But Ned Ludd and all these people led this movement to go into these factories, cotton and wool factories, and destroy the machinery in there because they were afraid they're going to lose their job. And they hated the machines.
Right. The technology was the enemy.
And so they would often, if they sent in like a manifesto, they would sign it Ned Ludd. But he was kind of the original Luddite. And they called themselves the Luddites. We're not Luddites. We love the blessings that have come to us through the internet and through all of this amazing content. The fact that you can have like some of the brightest minds in the world that you would have had zero access to before. They would have behind all of these doors, and you can hear these wonderful things, I think is a blessing. And we are not all about going and destroying technology because we're afraid of it, but also we're going to be wise in our use of it, and we're going to be protective of our kids at appropriate ages and times and seasons. So that's the first question. Next question is specifically about AI.
Yeah.
And honestly, what are we all doing with the oncoming AI tsunami? How will we navigate that with our kids? How will we protect our families during that wave? But also, how will we thrive during that time?
Right, because it's happening whether we like it or not.
Yes.
So it's something you have to deal with.
Yeah. And so speaking of the Luddites, I think the Luddites were during a time in England when jobs were really hard to come by. And so those were legitimate feelings.
Yeah, they were concerned
and they were losing their jobs to these machines.
Yeah.
But also, you can't necessarily stop technology, and all of us benefit from these machines now. We're all wearing very affordable clothing.
Right.
Now we could also argue we've gone too far in that. But so we don't want to be Luddites. But this AI thing is wild. If you haven't participated in it yet, hold on to your hats, because it is the craziest technology ever, like really ever.
Yeah. So I think what we might be helpful is to go over like some of the concerns that people have related to their children. We heard from one of our listeners pretty in depth, who's actually a friend of ours too, from a way long time ago, but about how kids can be affected by it, and I think adults. But she's very concerned about her children.
Yeah.
And how to navigate that.
Yeah, and I think she felt, and I think this is a great question, that it seemed when we talk so much about building that house of bricks and protecting our kids and also fostering a really healthy environment for learning and growth, that AI seems to fly in the face of that.
Right.
But she also knows that we use it.
Yeah, well, because we're pretty open about it.
Yeah, so I guess she's like, I need to hear your reasoning for why you use AI.
Do this.
And that's a great question. And honestly, the Norps are very guilty of over-talking every subject ever. So we have talked about it a lot with our family over the last 9 months. Yeah, about 9 months ago, we stumbled finally into using AI.
It's true. And I think that's a whole nother, I think, kind of part of our family, but I think it's also a healthy thing for a family to do, which is always have an open dialogue about anything pretty much, so that you're sort of always talking about, especially kind of current events and issues of the day. So they're always out in the open and they're up for discussion. And so we can all work through this together.
Comfortably,
so in general, I think it's good in your family to have an atmosphere where you can be discussing pretty much anything. And so nobody has to kind of figure it out on their own in the dark, whatever, like without any parental guidance. So.
Yeah. Well, and there's different types of conversation we have in our home. We talked about there's a time when parents are parenting and we are explaining to our kids why we've chosen to parent in a certain way or discipline in a certain way.
Which we kind of discussed last time.
Which is important just to help them kind of understand our reasoning. But it's also not an open discussion at that point.
Right.
We're not saying, what do you think? Do you like that I'm taking away your phone right now or whatever? Yeah. We're saying, I'm going to take away your phone and let me tell you why. But we have lots of discussions that are not like that, where this is not a time of mom and dad being the benevolent monarchy in the home.
Right.
This is a time of open discussion as almost like peers.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we do have a culture of respect, and so they're not going to say we're dumb, but
at least not to our face.
Yeah, I don't mean it like that, but I think our kids challenge what we believe, and we challenge what they believe. We have discussions that are open, and this is not a time for us to make sure that we get the final say.
Right. That's true. It's, like I said, it's fairly open.
Very open. So. And so I think it was just a few days after I downloaded the ChatGPT app and started using it. I was like, oh my goodness. And I feel like I almost called a family meeting, and I sent out a text to everybody. about it because like some kids weren't living
maybe.
at home about
Yeah.
like how we'll prepare just like for your future careers because we have so many kids who are right in that zone of like making decisions about what they're going to do to support themselves
Right.
if they're not already there. So we immediately started those discussions. And like Mike said, we've talked and talked and talked and talked about it.
Yeah. So we've kind of gone over sort of the pitfalls of AI, what that can do as far as stunting creativity or kind of hindering your ability to think and to reason and to essentially cheat for you.
Yeah.
Which I think is the main concern for people right now, is that it's essentially going to make us stupid.
And they have every right to be concerned.
And you do have that right, because it can certainly be used for that purpose. And I think is being used for that purpose a lot in public school, as far as kids using it for their assignments when they're not supposed to be and all that stuff. So those fears are valid.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is here, whether we like it or not. Your children at some point are going to start using it. And so, like Megan said, it's not good to be a Luddite. If we just say, I shun this technology, I will never allow it into my home, and my children will never use it, you're just you're flying in the face of reality. Like it's happening. So we might as well learn to use it productively and in a way that actually is helpful, because we have so many tools now in these times that we didn't have before. They're so helpful that can be used for bad or good. And so this is just another tool.
Absolutely. Caution is always a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to rush into it. So the first principle we'd say is an open dialogue about it, about your concerns. I think
Sure.
I am incapable, it's kind of a family joke, of not saying what I feel. Sometimes I'll be talking to Mike about something that's going on with one of the kids, and I'll say like, well, I'm not going to say anything. It's not a big deal. I'll just, whatever.
I'll let it go.
I'll let it go. I'm not going to say anything. And then like, it's like almost like you start a stopwatch.
30 seconds later, Megan's downstairs confronting them about this thing. She can't do it. This is the beauty of Megan, and I think her superpower is that she doesn't let things go unsaid. And so nothing gets to simmer under the surface and come to a boil and eventually explode, because we just figure it out. And so I'm
pretty direct.
Yeah, and that's good.
But when it comes to AI, I mean, absolutely from the beginning, I'm like, this is crazy. Let's talk about it. I even tell my kids, like, well, this would be my fear,
Yeah.
But we're keeping it light. I'm not like, like saying like, I'm so scared for you most of the time. But I have some notes here. What do I want to say? Oh, yeah. What I think predates all of that is that we do have a lot of those conversations, but also our family culture. And I know that we talked about this in season 1 of No Place Like Home, about your family culture. And if we go back to the gardening metaphor, that's like the soil that your plants grow in. If it's good soil, so many problems just don't exist.
Right.
If you have a strong and healthy family culture, a lot of the problems just fall away or just never come up. And so one of the things about our family culture that we've been very intentional about, you have to be intentional about family. Well, you don't have to.
No, that's the
family
thing.
culture happens whether you're intentional or not.
Right.
But a healthy family culture.
It's just not going to happen that you want it to happen if you don't.
A healthy family culture usually requires intention. And one of the things we're intentional about is that towards the top of our values is the value of becoming. Mm-hmm. That's why we homeschool. We wanted you to actually learn and never lose the joy of learning and actually be able to use your creativity. Mike and I both went to public school. We remembered how your teachers actually actively and overtly discouraged creativity a lot of the time. Like, don't do exactly as I'm saying. We laugh all the time.
Follow
There
the
was in 5th grade, my teacher was like, today I'm going to be giving you a quiz. It's very important. And I'm like, oh, I'm amazing at quizzes. That's what I'm thinking in my brain. She's like, it's very important that you read the directions.
I think we all got the same thing at our generation, because I had the same thing happen to me.
She's like, it's very important that you read all the directions before you begin. I'm like, gotcha, got it.
Whatever.
She's like, okay, and she was a great 5th grade teacher, by the way, Miss Robertson. I think she got married after the year. Anyway, she passed out the quiz, and me and 2 other boys, troublemakers.
You just jump right
Zip through it. And then at the end, it's like, when you're done, raise your hand. And so I'm like, oh, boom, first hand up in the room. And everybody else is like, all the other kids like just staring at me. I'm like looking around the room, and then I didn't read the directions, and it's like the directions start with like normal things, and then it's like, do not go any further. Put your pencil down and sit quietly. You know.
Well, that was for mine. I remember it well. It was the last direction, because it's just a bunch of things you're filling out, and then the last thing was, don't do any of this.
Yeah.
And I did like the first three. Then I'm like, wait a minute. I think this is a trick. And I went down, and there it was. So I erased it. I erased my first three.
Oh, classic.
My cheat. So I'm sort of like in between.
I failed that quiz. What was my point?
Yeah, creativity. Anyways,
so there was all sorts of things like that, you know. And so we got to the end of public school, and then we went to college, and we met right on the first day at BYU. Got married 3 years later, and
not the first day.
No, 3 years later. Would have gotten married sooner, but Mike had to leave for 2 years to go serve as missionary. But we found that we had, when they were like, what would you like to major in? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what are you good at? Like, no clue. Then once you actually got a job, it was just kind of like, I guess I'll just do this.
Yeah.
And so we felt like we got into our late 20s and we're like, you know, it would have been nice if we had like learned all of these things about ourselves and all of that stuff, like
when I was younger.
Yeah. Like in high school, you know, or before.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things we really wanted to have for our kids, is that they could really learn about themselves and the world and like become who they were.
Right.
Like,
and that's the point. Like, the point is not to finish assignments and get good grades.
Yes.
The point of our life is to kind of become our full potential, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And so that created a culture of sort of producing, creating, learning, and growing that was outside of a system that rewards you just for the A and the gold star.
Yeah,
right?
do as little as possible to get as high a grade as possible.
Right.
Well, in fact, Andrew in the 7th grade, Andrew wants to be a writer, and he wanted to be a writer then, and he just felt like, I've never been to public school, or he had his elementary school. He's like, but middle school, I've never been. I just want to go for like 1 month. He's like, can I go to middle school for 1 month? I just want to experience it, like a investigative reporter.
Yeah.
And he went, and that was probably his biggest surprise. He said, I couldn't believe how often, like, everybody was just trying to get out of doing stuff.
He didn't.
Like, at one point, he was like reading something or doing something. The kid, his friend that he'd made, he's like, oh, dude, you don't have to do that. And he's like, I know, I'm just actually like enjoying it. I was just like,
yeah,
I thought it was good. You know, he's like, you don't have to do that. There's no grade, you know?
Yeah. So he was exposed to the world of trying to get the highest grade for the least amount of work possible, or just kids who didn't care, were just trying to avoid work at all costs.
Using all their creativity to not work.
Yeah, that was essentially it. Like, okay, how do I get out of the thing I should be doing?
Yeah, and whose book is that? John Taylor Gatto?
Yeah.
Dumbing Us Down.
Uh-huh.
He talks a lot about how like school's kind of built, just when you put it together with human nature, you can't help but start using your creativity to not learn.
Right. Yeah, because
of the
they don't make it enjoyable. They don't like, it's something you're trying to avoid.
So that has been super helpful for us in our homeschooling culture, which is different than the public school culture, that we really prize and value becoming. So there are no grades. So why would you cut corners to get a higher grade?
Yeah, there's no corners to cut. Therefore, the use of AI in our home is not to cut corners, but to create and be an assistant to either the creative process or just answering a question you have. You fill in the blank, but if you can create this culture of becoming, of learning and growing, then the use of AI doesn't become, a cheater.
Well, like, why would you write a paper with AI if I never assigned you to write a paper at all?
Right.
Like, why would you do that?
So if Andrew or Peter, for instance, he is writing a story, he's writing a book, but it's not because he was assigned to do it, it's because he wants to do it. So why in the world would he, like you said, why would he bring AI into it to write for him? Because he's enjoying the creative process in and of itself.
Yeah, he wanted to himself write a story.
So for me, that if you can establish that in your home, that takes care of 98% of the issues that you might be worried about with AI. Yeah. And suddenly you realize it's actually an amazing tool to create with.
Yes.
Or an amazing tool
to help you become.
and to produce what you're trying to produce.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about how we use it in our family to aid in us becoming. It did not become less creative, but to actually make it possible for us to be even more creative. Also, creativity aside, all of the other ways that it's been a huge blessing to us to use AI. Are we perfect at it? No. It's just kind of like the mending fences. There are times, I think we've been pretty dang good at it though, because we've been open and because we have a lot of that we've talked about, and our kids are older and we don't have assignments they're just trying to get done so they can move on to something they enjoy doing. We spend all of our time doing things I shouldn't say it, but doing things we enjoy doing.
Right.
And so, people, it's this lady in my church congregation who wants to come over. She's like, I want to see what your homeschooling looks like. It's like, okay. Like, I guess you can, but it's gonna look, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it would look like from the outside. I'm so used to it. But today I was walking down the stairs to go to Costco with Mike, and even Jude were going with us, and Peter and Andrew were in a meeting, and I could hear them discussing their little business that they're doing, and I could hear Pearl playing the flute, and Asher was out. He's doing this like construction, internship thing. So like, I guess it's like, I don't know what she's going to do. I think she thinks that she's going to come over and we're all going to be like, have like a chalkboard that I roll out of a closet somewhere, and we're going to have textbooks in our lap or something. I don't know. So it's like, I guess you can come and sit at my house, but it would be kind of awkward. We're just all doing what we like doing.
Yeah.
And so that is the only way we're accessing AI is to help us do more of what we like doing.
We don't want to do it for us because that takes the joy out of it.
Yeah.
So it's good to have as an assistant, and we'll talk more about that. But I think another thing that happens in our family is that we also we value creativity pretty highly in our family.
Very highly.
And so it would be very strange if someone in the family were to suddenly be using AI as just an actual creator in and of itself for any number of things we might be working on. In fact, we might get shamed a little bit for it by other people in the family.
Absolutely.
Because we'd say, what are you doing? Like that is cheating, and when none of us value that. So
in fact, I'm going to admit something.
Oh, really? Ooh, this is exciting.
I'm like working through in my brain right now how much of it I'm going to admit. I get really nice emails from you guys, but sometimes I get really difficult emails where you are in a pickle. You have really difficult things going on. And I appreciate that you love me and you believe in me and you see me as someone who can help you with those things. I do appreciate that, but also I'm not.
You're not as smart as I think you are.
I'm not always able to. I mean, life is complicated,
Yeah.
and like solving problems takes time and patience and guidance and discernment, and I can't do that. But this one
someone else, possibly.
For someone else, like
Yeah.
those, maybe some things, and that's what we're trying to do here with this podcast. But in this particular email I got, it was a few months ago, and it was really difficult health concerns, and that were above my pay grade for sure. But I also understood but this person is really looking for some guidance, and so I might have asked an AI. I'm admitting a sin here. I might have asked an AI, like, what could she do for her health? And AI helped me give her a good response.
Uh-huh.
And I felt pretty good about it, but I also felt kind of icky.
Okay, I remember this. Yeah.
Yes, you remember. And I sent the email back because I thought it was actually really good advice. I'm like, well, that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
That's some pretty solid advice. And then I told Andrew. And he was kind of horrified. He's like, what did you do?
Andrew
I'm
is
like, Andrew, she needed my help, and I didn't know how to answer her. And so I did ask the AI, and it had a really good response and like gave some like very clear things that she could do. And he's like, yeah, still not right though. And he really came. I'm like, ooh, you don't know. I felt pressure.
By the way, he's 21 years old, or is that right?
Yeah, 21? He's 21.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's not like one of our younger kids. So
that shows you that I don't always use it perfectly, but also that
we have a self-regulating system.
We do.
Here.
I think if he had done that, I would have said the same thing. Yeah. And so he's like, it's still so important that in human interaction you don't do that. I'm like, okay. And you guys should know that like AI is everywhere. It's like, and maybe you already know this, but like it tries to write your text for you, and it tries to do our YouTube comment responses to you, and I I work hard not to use those because it will say like, this is what I should say in response to your
Yeah,
comments.
that's true. Yep, it does suggest.
So we work really hard on that too. But
we
all
do
that
use
to
it.
say, we do use it. And I thought we could kind of go over it and our thinking. Now, I think we should have a caveat.
I love caveats.
This is the very beginning of the AI tsunami. And we used to let our kids, our teenagers, have Instagram in the early years. We would never let them have Instagram now because Instagram has changed. It has absolutely changed.
Yeah.
And I cannot speak to how I will feel about our usage of AI in a year or in 5 years as it changes.
Because we don't know what their ultimate plans are with it.
We don't
when
know.
comes
And
down
it
to
will change
So,
because they're going to need to make more money. So it's going to change. And I have really legitimate fears with some of the things and the power that they will have. I don't have super big fears with our family and its interaction with it because we have some really clear principles that we've kind of come out with in all of our talks.
Right.
And that is the becoming, our own efforts of creativity and problem solving are the most important, one of the most important things we do in our life. That's the point of life. And so we are not going to outsource that to AI, like we said. But also, like that example gave you, we don't let AI speak for us. Something we've noticed, because we have interacted with the AI a lot now, ChatGPT specifically, at our church, we don't, every Sunday, the speakers are just people from the congregation who've been asked to speak.
right.
Which is, fantastic. And it's really nice. And it's also really stressful when you get asked. I gave one like last month, I think.
It's great for everyone, though. You
You got to prepare this talk and you have to give it to everybody. And it's completely of your own. They might give you a topic. Anyways, we have noticed in the last 6 months that a few teenagers have given ChatGPT written talks. And I don't think everybody knows because we're like, that was a really amazing talk. And you're like, well, it was just ChatGPT because you know the voice of ChatGPT. But what I have noticed on those Sundays is they will give this talk and it will be very well written in quotes, right? It's got like great examples and great quotes and it's like all comes together. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't them.
Right.
They sit down and they feel like, I just got an A.
Yep.
I got an A. And it's like, there are no grades at church, though.
Yeah.
I just got an A. And then the next person gets up. And interestingly, they might stumble a little bit. They might, it's not as maybe
Not as
clear a
smooth.
narrative
Yeah.
in their talk.
Yeah.
But it's their voice and it feels amazing.
Right. It's
It's
different.
in contrast. So it feels amazing. And we'll talk about it. It's actually gotten, I don't feel like it's as many lately.
Yeah.
I think everybody was kind of heady when they first.
Yeah, and
were
I
like,
think
"This is
parents have
amazing."
gotten a little wise to that.
Yeah, but
But again, they're missing the point. The whole reason we're assigned to give talks is so that we can learn and so that we can go through that process because we all know that you learn more about something you present on when you're preparing it. So
and then also so that I can hear your authentic experience with the spiritual and with
Right.
God, and like that is so delicious for everybody in the congregation.
Right.
Your humble, imperfect, stumbling through life sorts of experiences and so powerful. But giving a good talk in quotes is actually not the point.
right.
It's
right.
not the point.
Yeah. But I do think public school teaches that.
Yeah, I do
And we don't want to
harp on that.
beat up public school too much, but we really want to. So
No.
just it's just
No,
that's what
but
it
I have a
teaches.
friend at church and her daughter is very studious and getting good grades is really important to her. And at her school, she's like, the AI use is so bad.
Right.
And she feels frustrated because she works super, super hard and AI writes the papers. And people have like weird ways to cheat with AI on tests.
Yeah, they're learning how to. That's
Yeah.
the thing. These students are just using their creativity to
game the system
to
with
game
AI.
that system with AI.
And so she feels like they're going to get better and better grades, and then it's going to be harder for her to get into college.
Right, because again, it's this whole system
Yeah.
that rewards you based on those things.
Yeah, and
Therefore-
so I understand that frustration. And so I'm grateful that we are outside of that, and I do think that is very, very helpful. Okay, so how do we use it then? I mean, well, we could go into how we use it. I think this podcast would be too long.
Right.
Do you guys want to hear that? We could do another podcast where we just talk about all the great things that we do with ChatGPT
well, kind of how adults use it, and we could
and
maybe
how our family uses
yeah,
it.
I think we can sort of I think we can skim the surface a little
Okay.
bit because I think the main question was how do kids how are kids going to navigate this thing? And I think we've established, you have a culture where we value creativity and becoming. Like the point of everything we do is to learn and to grow and to progress in that way.
Because you get to keep those things. Our favorite, I'll mention this really quickly. Our favorite, our family movie, like our family movie motto is you can't take it with you. And I know some of you don't like
the title of a movie.
Yes, and it may not be, some of you don't like black and white movies, I'm sure, but that's sad because it's Frank Capra. It's incredible. And the movie is like what we aspire to. That like we're spending our times on doing things that you can take with you. Mm-hmm. And that's what you become, what you learn, the acquisition of knowledge. And so that's our family culture. And so that does go a long ways in a healthy interaction with AI.
Right. So if we kind of go through the kids and how they're using it or not using it, from youngest to oldest who are at home right now, Jude doesn't use AI. And we don't encourage him to use it because he doesn't really have a need to. And so, because we have heard of people putting their kids on AI and saying, hey, why don't you talk to AI about this topic and have this whole conversation?
No.
We don't encourage that sort of thing. So
we have used it on his behalf, though.
Right, to help him with some things.
Last summer, he went to boys camp, and came home with like some bites on the bottom of his feet.
Oh, it's true.
And we like asked Chad about what probably bit him and what we could do with a photo. That was very helpful. Because and actually eventually learned that Jude has this thing that some young kids have where they over respond. They have a high histamine response. And we learned that through our interactions with ChatGPT and photos and questions. So if Jude uses it, it's through mom and dad on their phones, answering those sorts of questions.
Right. Asher.
Well, Eve obviously doesn't use it either.
Eve doesn't. If you're not aware, Eve has Down syndrome, and so she doesn't have any complex needs on that front.
What I could see using it for is Eve has certain topics that she loves endlessly. Right. And I do remember back in the day, there were other parents who, for their Down syndrome kids, had very simple books on those topics. Like, I think a mom said her son was like obsessed with spaghetti. So she like wrote a spaghetti book. I could see doing that for Eve, but I can hear your voice saying, well, but shouldn't mom write the book on the subject? You're probably right. Probably right. But also I use Google Maps. I don't use paper maps because it's easier. So,
and that's a whole nother discussion about at what point did technology, is it okay to use it versus...
Is it making you dumber? Because it is making you dumber to use Google Maps and paper maps, but we're all using them.
And then there's Asher, and he doesn't use AI a whole lot. He likes to work with his hands, but he did use it to research, because he has this obsession with building and building a castle is what he wants to do. His dream. Someday.
I wouldn't call it an obsession, Dad.
Sorry, but he's really excited about that, and so he did talk to AI about. What would it take to build a castle?
Realistically, one person working this many hours a day.
How long would it take?
What skills would they need to learn? What books would you recommend? So like his Christmas or his birthday list. Was it his birthday list? He just got like...
Christmas, I think.
I think it was birthday. Because he got like 8 books that he had found by chatting with the AI on, different skills that he would need to learn, which led him to doing the apprenticeship that he did last summer, and where he was able to learn some of those skills and he brought all those books with him. And now he's doing this kind of internship job too. So
to me, that's also another example of a productive use of it, is that, okay, this is something I want to do. So how can you assist me in doing the thing that I want to do? And if it springboards you into action and into producing something or creating something, then to me, that's a good use of it. And that's exactly what Asher did.
It didn't stop him from learning. It just gave him, it's like an amazing Google search. Like instead of Googling, like it's so hard because ChatGPT is a language model. It's amazing at taking the information that you would usually get from Google, but helping connect you with it a lot more accurately.
With what you're actually saying.
Yeah, because if you get on Google, what would you have said? Like, one man build a castle, books, how to. Like what do you put in on Google?
Yeah.
No, now you have a Google AI, but with ChatGPT, even more the language model, he could say, hey, this is my dream. This is what I'd like to do. How do I do that? And like, tell me like what I would need to learn. And so for us, that's like an amazing Google search that helped walk him through. And then you can even clarify, right? You can say like, no, that's not what I was looking for. For us, that we're very comfortable and feel very excited to have a tool that can do that for us.
Yeah, it's great. And then Peter, and you can put Peter and Andrew together on this. They have been developing this game that they're planning on selling, and they've used chat not for the ideas
creation of it. Not for the writing of it.
No, and for the actual, I mean, because this is a lot. It's a huge rule set they have to come up with, and they have come up with. But they've used it for formatted questions. They've used it to say, "Hey, look this over. Does this make sense?
Do these rules work?"
Yeah, do these rules work? And they have used it also, technically speaking, for like Andrew set up an LLC for this business, and they asked him, walk me through the steps to setting up an LLC. They went and did those things. So they've used it as an executive assistant, essentially, or an assistant to, and also a copywriter, like all those things to get this done.
Well, and I think all of us have kind of taken the unwritten pledge that we won't use ChatGPT for creative things. So like one of the things they won't do, it's like the Ring of Power right outside. They know they knew they needed art for the game.
Oh, you're right.
And you're like, oh, I could get like art so easily from ChatGPT. It's right there. And everybody else is going to do it. But they were like, nope, we will not do it. We will not let it write a sentence of like, our creative game. But that led them to say, Pearl, I know you've never drawn anything along these lines, but could you do it?
Yeah.
And so she suddenly like stepped up to the plate and has made this art
Huge
for them.
way.
Yeah. And they have all these meetings with her, and like, we all knew Pearl was a good artist, but she had never really spent her time like drawing like swords and dragons and, knights and heraldry and all of the things they wanted from her. And she stepped up and has learned how to do it, and like learned the materials that she needed. And she does use chat she will ask chat for tips on like, I'm trying to get it to look this way. Why isn't it? Because like, I don't know how it does it, but it can actually look at your pictures and
yeah, you can upload images to it
and say like, well, over here, what you're probably doing is this, and you might need to do that. And I think my friend Sarah asked in the comments, because I had talked about using it for bread making and how it helped me develop and learn and understand my sourdough process better than any recipes or people I had talked to. And she was saying, wouldn't it be better if you had a person you could talk to for that? And I think, yeah, I would have called a person. I had already kind of exhausted my person resources when it came to learning that. And same for Pearl. I think in the past, you're just kind of hit a wall until you can find a person. Right. Like you have the privilege of interacting with that person. These days, it's like you have the quick ability to then get that question answered and get that direction and keep moving. I was able to level up in my sourdough, and Pearl in this maybe drawing. I don't know. I don't think she leaned on it that heavily, but she has used it. But for my sourdough specifically, and maybe the kids with their game, they did have people test it. Many, many, many games have been played with all sorts of different types of people. But people aren't always great at taking in information and spitting back out to you very precise answers. And so on top of the people they interacted with was, the things that chat did for them. And same with me for bread. I asked my friends, like, they're like, I don't know. And it's like, well, and once again, how do I Google it? I don't even know how to come up with a question, but I can have a conversation and say, okay, can you explain to me what's supposed to be happening here? And then it'll say something and I'm like, I don't really understand. What do you mean by that? And so for me, that is enabling me to learn new skills. Now, when my daughters or sons want to get good at sourdough, they won't need to go to ChatGPT.
Right, they've got you.
They will be able to come to me.
Right.
And because I now have those skills, and I didn't let chat do all the thinking for me, but it answered and clarified my thinking so that I could obtain and acquire this skill. And for me, and for Mike, and for our house, we're very comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I totally respect if you don't want to do that. And I do think if you're like, I'm going to use maps because it's better for my brain, I'm like, wow, that's impressive. I do think so. Or I'm going to make my own clothes. I know Pearl is working on doing that right this very moment rather than using, factory-made clothing. And so I think we are all kind of navigating when we lean on technology and machinery and AI. And then making sure that if we are getting shortcuts with AI, that it's enabling us to work harder and have more creativity and more becoming somewhere else.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So I think that's all the kids at home. So they're all using it essentially to assist them in the things that they're wanting to do. Now, I will say this, because I think another concern with AI is that it would take the place of personal interactions or even spiritual interactions.
Oh, yeah.
And we've talked about this with our children a lot.
A lot.
And we all value personal connection and interaction. So, and I think that's another sign of a healthy family. If you are providing that for your children, then they shouldn't need to go to an AI to do that, but certainly that's not a healthy way to use it.
Yeah. In fact, I remember Elijah,
as a friend or a whatever.
Elijah went into the settings on his ChatGPT and was like, "Don't ever interact with me and like emotional." Because I used his AI once. I'm like, "Your AI is rude." He's like, "I did that on purpose. I think it's creepy. I don't want it to be like my friend."
Yeah. Don't want to talk.
So
to it.
you can set those settings as well in your own. But interestingly, Elijah sent me a text today. I want to read this. He put up a video that he worked really hard on.
Go watch his
really
video,
proud
buddy.
of.
Elijah
It's
has his own YouTube channel.
really beautiful, and he got a comment that was really nice from Blythek. I don't know. "You can absolutely tell this video is professionally done. Congrats on perfecting your craft. I'm definitely a fan." And then somebody commented on that and said AI was probably used, and he was like, I kind of flattered, I guess, that she thinks that it's so good that I couldn't have done it myself. But I also was like, it's sad that already we think that humans alone can't make beautiful things, or expertly done things. And that's going to happen more and more. We can't even like get into, we need to have another discussion on so many things when it comes to AI. But it is going to be wild.
Yeah.
It is going to change things.
It will change the landscape as far as employment and all that goes too. But
yeah,
all this is very difficult to predict though. So
but our pledge as a family and to each other has been that we won't use AI to replace creativity. We won't let AI make art for us we won't ever write a book that's AI written.
Right.
We don't have scripts that's AI written or anything along those lines. That's important to us. But we absolutely will lean on that technology to help us learn how to become the best version of ourselves.
Right. Yeah. Which is, again, that's the point, is if we can all agree that learning and growing and progressing is the point of this life, or a big part of it, then why would we cheat ourselves by using AI in that way?
Yeah, I think it's sad, and I think we will get to the point where a lot of beautiful things are just made by AI, and that will be sad. But I can't control any of that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to be very careful, very, very careful, and very discerning on what I believe and what, the takeaways I have from those things. And AI is absolutely, we didn't even talk about it, but it's been wrong plenty of times with us when we've asked chat questions. We're like, no, that's not true at all.
Yeah. You still
absolutely.
Gotta verify.
Just like a Google search.
Take it with a grain of
Or just
salt.
like looking up in textbooks, it's going to be wrong. But I can't control that. I cannot control the ways that the world will change because everybody's using AI. I can't, let's say your kid does not use AI and everybody else does, and they get into college. Well, you know what? Have fun at college. It's going to be okay. Your child will still be fine, and we will all of us who are choosing not to do that will continue becoming. It may, in the short term, mean that we're living differently, but it doesn't really matter, does it? In the movie, You Can't Take It With You, there's kind of two families, and one family is all about the winning and the success of the world and the power and the money.
Right.
And the other family has nothing. Like, they literally have nothing. But they don't.
They live
financially.
They live a little more humbly. Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't really care because they're wealthy because they spend all their time becoming and finding the joy in that and the relationships that they have. And so it may be that you kind of live that out in the short term, where the people are being rewarded for the AI, their videos and their books and everything. But it doesn't really matter, because for you in your house, you will get to become. You will get to have strong relationships with joy, and sure, you'll use the AI, or maybe you won't use it that much. You can choose not to do that, but it doesn't matter. Ultimately, we will find ways that it will always be best to become, even if financially they have more than you. What's the point of money? It's like you kind of started to talk about it, but WALL-E people. We don't want to be WALL-E people. In fact, at the end of WALL-E, they're like, wait, we used to be somebody, and they all want that so desperately. So go, if you haven't yet, go watch You Can't Take It With You. That's our AI text right there. It'll answer all of your questions. No, I just think we're not afraid of it because we talk about it a lot. We've gotten really clear on what is appropriate and what isn't. And anytime we kind of veer outside of that, we all kind of naturally pull each other back in.
Yeah.
We're pretty open. We talk about things. We think about things. We push back. We debate about things in a healthy way.
We're skeptical of lots of this stuff.
Yes, we're very skeptical. We are under no impression that everybody has our best interests at heart on the internet, including all of the companies,
Right.
And so I think that helps. And we will continue to kind of pick our way through it as a family and as individuals. But I feel like we've got a pretty good handle right now on where things are.
Currently are.
And as for choosing careers, how to AI-proof help your kids do that, that's probably a conversation for another day, but a very interesting one. I don't know what the world is going to be like when these robots get AI brains in them, but...
Have you seen Terminator? Yeah. That's what's going to happen.
I don't know, but it's very, dude. These days, when I get a call from somebody who's trying to help me with, we didn't even mention what a blessing AI has been for helping us fix things on our computer.
Well, that's more. I think that could be another conversation.
Yeah, because you call customer service these days. I hope AI answers instead of somebody I can't really understand what they're saying, and they seem to have a script they're following, and then if you ask them something too complicated, they're like, just a minute, and they disappear forever.
Listen, AI is the best tech support you'll ever have. So all you gotta do is send it screenshots of what you're looking at on your computer, say, this is my problem, help me fix it, and they will walk you right through it. It's beautiful. It will, whatever it is. Anyways.
So
model good behavior, though.
Mike is in the very masculine, figure it out, don't be scared. I'm in the hey, it's okay to be skeptical and nervous and what's the word? Take it slow.
Yeah.
But I think...
which I think that's okay, because that's what you should model for your children.
Yeah.
That's good. So.
But I think it is inevitable. So figure out and talk openly and work. And sometimes, like I said, you'll kind of maybe go outside of what you're all comfortable with. It makes you feel kind of icky or weird.
Hey, yeah, and you're allowed to course correct.
Yeah.
We course correct all the time with our family.
All the time.
It's not like you have to figure it out. You're supposed to figure it out from day one and say, this is how we do it, and that's how it's always going to be. We're always learning.
Well, and you guys, once again, I will walk into the room. Everybody will be sitting there. I'm like, all right, I think we did this wrong. We need to talk about it. I don't think we should do this anymore. I don't think we should watch that movie last night. I've been thinking about it all day. I'm doing that constantly. So I think that works, though. We kind of
it's okay.
Eventually get our way there. And
you're showing you're modeling for your children, I think, what adult life is, which is you're still just trying to figure things out. And so if your kids think you have it all together all the time and they never see you question or have any trouble with anything, then when they get to adulthood, they're going to realize oh, wait a minute, I'm a mess. I must be a failure. It's like, no. We're all just figuring this out. So
we have guiding principles, and sometimes it's not always clear looking forward how to implement them. It's a lot easier looking back.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, I love talking about AI, though. I would love to talk about all the ways we are using it happily.
You can start singing that song at the end of Napoleon Dynamite where Kip is singing about how he loves technology.
I love technology. But I think it's possible. I think it's possible to really use it to help you become. Think of it like Jarvis in Iron Man. That you can use it to help you, or think like Judy on the Jetsons. Was Judy the name of their robot?
I don't know.
I don't know. But, use it cautiously, but optimistically, that it's possible for you to come to a very safe and responsible place with your family where you don't have to worry so much if everybody else, just becomes the WALL-E people because of AI. You won't, and you'll be happy for it.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming along, guys. Don't forget to leave us a review if you've got a minute, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave comments, send us more questions. We love getting them and having insights into what is on your mind and heart. And I promise I won't use AI to respond.
But it means... But it does mean we don't respond to a lot. We can't respond to everything that comes through.
I appreciate it, though. But until next time, bye.
See ya.